see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom.
Welcome to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, powered by Jack's Angels, where we talk about your experiences, advocacy news, research, and today's heroes for kids. We are here to bring hope to the unthinkable but real experience of a child diagnosed with cancer. Jack's Angels advocacy mission is to provide a voice for children with cancer to effect change for a more hopeful future for those to come. Childhood Cancer Talk Radio starts right now. Here is your host, Janet Demeter.
What a wonderful world.
Hello world! This is Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure on toginet.com. If childhood cancer hasn't directly affected your life, but you're curious about it, great, the show is for you too. We are dedicated to educating the general public about childhood cancer through personal experiences, and also to provide a forum from which advocates, medical professionals, affected families, and the children themselves can have a stronger voice and find support. This is our very first show, so today the introduction to the show will be a little longer than usual, also because there are currently some exciting developments in the world of childhood cancer advocacy. I'd like to mention right away that the opinions expressed here do not reflect those of TogiNet Radio or Global Broadcasting Networks, nor does Childhood Cancer Talk Radio have any political affiliation. We mention our government and its representatives only in encouraging our listeners to make full use of their First Amendment rights as citizens and to actively participate in the democratic process. That said, our guests today are Jaime and David King, parents of Katie King, otherwise known as Catherine the Brave. She's 6 years old. She was diagnosed with DIPG in June of 2015. And we're also speaking with Kristine Wetzel of the McKenna Claire Foundation for Pediatric Brain Tumor Research and Support in Southern California. You're going to learn something about DIPG today. Diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, a particularly aggressive pediatric brain cancer responsible for the majority of brain tumor deaths in children each year in the United States. It originates in the pons area of the brain stem. And the pons is like the grand central station of all neural impulses going between the brain and the body and back again. And the glioma, or the cancer of the glial cells, is diffusely infiltrating. This means that it's intermingled with the healthy brainstem, and that its location, because of that and its location, surgery is not viable treatment option. So the child, while remaining perfectly aware, starts losing control of the body until finally respiration is affected and death ensues. It's a tall order to receive a DIPG diagnosis. Okay, for decades there's been little funding for research from our National Cancer Institute, and there have been no survivors in over 35 years of clinical record. In fact, there are cases of pontine glioma on record as far back as the 1950s. Karen Armstrong, and yes, we're talking about Neil Armstrong, the astronaut. His daughter died of complications from DIPG in 1962. And this resonates strongly with the moonshot speech from Vice President Biden 2 nights ago, in which he announced America's resolve to cure cancer. We are very hopeful for this new public commitment to cancer research, for we need the same resolve to cure cancer as we did to put a man on the moon. It takes that commitment and a decision, and we can do it. There's never a question about where the money is going to come from if it's a national priority. This is why raising public awareness for childhood cancer is so crucial. Just 2 years ago, February 2014, it was announced at a conference at the National Institutes of Health that only 4%, guys, of our national budget for cancer research targets pediatrics specifically. My gosh, what does your phone do at 8%? I know mine is dead, right? What about 4? Is there any question as to why children have been dying of DIPG every year with no change for 35 years? And parents have been told with a certain regularity that there are no solutions for their child because the numbers aren't great enough for investors. What? No parent should hear that. No parent should hear that their child is insignificant to our medical research system, yet it happens all the time. for parents of kids with brain tumors. The leading cause of cancer-related death in children is one of the least funded areas of cancer research. Now, I wouldn't give you all this gloom and doom without a ray of sunshine. I'm so happy to report that just yesterday, January 13th, 2016, a new resolution, House Resolution 586, has hit the floor of the House of Representatives that calls for more consideration for low survival rate pediatric cancers and relative years of life lost in the NCI's research grant process. It raises awareness for DIPG and the fact that pediatric cancer research has been systematically neglected with an awareness week for DIPG at the end of May, which happens to be Brain Tumor Awareness Month. The STAR Act, another very important piece of legislation that's already been in the House and Senate since 2015. STAR stands for Survivorship, Treatment, Accessibility, and Research. This is the current legislation that makes special provisions for all kids with cancer. It desperately needs support. It currently has only 25% of the House, and I was surprised to learn that from the Nicholas Connor Institute. I'll tell you more about the STAR Act in the second half of the show. We've got many shows to come to catch you up on advocacy news, and you can learn more about all of this at jacksangels.org and specific news about our show at cctalkradio.org. If you would like to contribute information or would like to be a guest, contact cctalkradio@gmail.com. If you're just tuning in, this is your host, Janet Demeter, for Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on toginet.com, powered by Jack's Angels Foundation. Now, I'm honored to introduce to you Jaime King and David King, parents of Catherine the Brave of Placentia, California. You are already, as parents of a diagnosed child, making huge strides in raising awareness for DIPG. Are you there?
Yes, we are.
Hi.
Sorry, I had to wait through my introduction. This is our first show, and I wanted to make sure I guessed what we were talking about, but this show is for you, so I want to hear, first of all, how you're doing. I hear you got back from just an amazing trip recently.
We did. We went to Hawaii. My company gifted us a trip to Hawaii. Katie was given 3 weeks to travel outside of the States, and we were sent over there for a good 7 days and really enjoyed ourselves.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And for the folks listening, you know, this is the tightrope that we walk when we have a child diagnosed with DIPG. You're given a certain amount of time. You get a little bit of hope, and it's just, you're always on this tightrope. Could you tell us a little bit, Jaime and David, what was life like before the diagnosis with Katie?
Katie is a beautiful child. She's always been a very similar to every other DIPG kid that we've learned about since this diagnosis. Very, very much an old soul, a special child. We have 2 teenage daughters. We're constantly busy, running around, not really as grounded as we would like to have been. And unfortunately, diagnosis brings you back to reality.
Right. And what was that like? From what you've told me, it sounded like there were a number of things that seemed to be amiss, and it was the optometrist finally that had you on the track to being diagnosed, had Katie on the track to being diagnosed. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, strangely, she started to wobble in her walk. Her eyes were, one of her eyes was slowly moving over. We thought it was an eye problem. She was starting to sleep a lot more and was more agitated. And little things were happening, that you could mistake for, the common virus or, a simple eye problem. We took her into several doctors. They diagnosed her with iron deficiency, a virus virus. She got a hold of our blood pressure pills. They threw everything at us. And finally, one of her optometrists said, your child sees perfectly fine, but her brain is telling her she sees double. You need to take her in right away. And we did.
Fantastic. Yeah, we had a similar experience, and the vague symptoms were going on for quite some time. And my son Jack had a slight iron deficiency. He really didn't have very much of an appetite, and that worried me. But yeah, that's so what happened when you took her in?
The classic DIPG diagnosis. We're very sorry. Your child has a tumor in her center pons, and there's nothing we can do. You need to take her home and make some memories and spend some quality time with her.
Surreal, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of kids that go in to the hospitals, and when they're diagnosed with cancer, it's always a traumatic experience. But they're given, some hope, and they usually stay there. They begin surgeries, or they begin chemo, or they begin some sort of therapy that hopefully they caught it in time. They sent us home right away because they're really anything that they can do.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. They sent you home right away?
They sent us home within a few days. What I was saying is most kids who are diagnosed with cancer are they're asked to stay in the hospital. They start chemo. They start therapies.
Right.
They hope that they caught it in time. But with DIPG, they just send you home and tell you there's nothing they can do. So we were out of the hospital in a few days, and we were sent home, basically.
Well, Jamie, when we come back from the break, let's talk about what the next step was, because sometimes the kids get sent immediately. They get the port. Even if they don't do chemo, they do radiation.
Yes.
I just want to have a feeling of what it was like right after and how you felt about your next steps. This is Janet Demeter. I'm your host at Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, and we're speaking with Jaime King and her husband David King about their daughter Katie, who has been diagnosed with DIPG. This show is powered by Jack's Angels Foundation, jacksangels.org.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
This is God in Country, the collision of faith and politics, hosted by nationally known speaker, Reverend Dr. Sean Michael Greener. Not your typical Rev. Dr. Sean is a proud military veteran, former law enforcement officer, and founder of the internationally regarded Executive Protection Team. Dr. Sean holds a bachelor's degree in biblical counseling and master's and doctorate degrees in theology, and is currently pursuing a doctorate in ministry with a Hebrew worldview focus. Through his counseling, elite life coaching, and national speaking, this ninja pastor tells it like it is. This series is biblically and politically engaged with the pedal to the metal. Join host and author of the acclaimed yet controversial book, Excellence Killed the Church, How Mediocrity is Destroying America, Dr. Sean Michael Greener, every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this radio network.
Do you ever wonder if you're the only woman who runs errands in her yoga pants so it will look like she went to the gym? Or how about the only mom who feeds her kids raw cookie dough? Or are you the only one who cooks her family cold cereal for dinner? Do you need more laughter and less loudness? More self-love and less self-loathing? More joy and less judgment? You're not alone. Come to the living room, a place where we get comfy, candid, and confident together. Come seeking sanctuary and leave feeling renewed. We're saving a seat for you. Give yourself some living room today.
Welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
Well, we're back live. This is Janet Demeter with Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. I'm live with Jaime and David King, and the story of Katie's journey with DIPG. And before the break, we were talking about her diagnosis and how immediate and how harsh it was, and the complete dark lack of hope, seeming with no escape. Could you tell us a little bit about what happened next? What kept you moving forward?
Yeah, immediately they tell you your child will die. Average child length of life after being diagnosed with DIPG is 9 months. We can give you that 9 months if you start radiation right away, which we did for 7 weeks, and saw significant shrinkage in the tumor. But we were told that would be short-lived. So after radiation, you start to look into trials that are out there, none of which are, focused on DIPG.
Right.
Most trials for DIPG kids, they don't make it past phase 1. Phase 1 is a toxic level evaluation. So most of the time they just suffer through it for no reason. A lot of times parents say, forget it. I'm just going to enjoy my time with my kid and let them pass peacefully, because there really is nothing out there. And any trial that is out there is self-funded by the parents of kids who've died, or by scientists and doctors who work on trying to find a cure as their life goal. It's not, we don't get any funding for it. In our case, we are currently using a drug called Panobinostat.
Right.
It's not been proven to cure anybody, but it's hopefully going to give her a little more time, and we're fighting for that right now.
Tell us about the fight for it, because I hear you only have like 3 months left covered, right?
Yes. We received Panobinostat on a fluke. The insurance company gave it to us because they didn't have it written in their system, and because of that, they legally had to provide it to us for 3 months. So we got 3 months of it in hopes that her tumor would shrink a little bit from it, and that they would at that point go, okay, it's working, we will provide it for you. However, her tumor did not shrink because Panobinostat is a biological drug. It takes 5 to 6 months to work, if it's going to work. And then, unfortunately, my husband had to quit his job to help with Katie. So his insurance is gone, and that was the insurance that gave it to us on compassionately. As well, Novartis, which is the company that makes the drug,
Right.
Shut down their compassionate release. They've recently opened it. However, it's a long process, and it takes a lot of effort to get them to give it to you. And we're currently trying to fight for that right now. It would be devastating to have given this drug to my daughter for 3 months and just take it away from her.
I've seen actually a case where they started on that, and it's very recent, and it was a little too late. They had such trouble getting it in the first place.
Yes.
It was before it was even considered to be approved. It's real, and it was through, I think, the same doctor, Dr. Manji, who is correct. Is this the doctor who helped you get Panobinostat?
Yes, Dr. Michelle Manji, she's a pioneer in the DIPG field. She is doing everything she can to get this approved through the FDA and get some trials out there. She has a good grasp on what the toxicity level would be,
Right.
and that is what she's sharing with a lot of the DIPG patients. She works with them directly because there is no other way. A lot of the doctors who run these trials, or scientists, who run these trials, they work through the oncologist to put these kids on the trial, but her trial is taking so long to get through that she's just working with people directly and helping them get the right levels of the drug.
Well, that's the way, doctors used to be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're so, they're tied up in bounds by so many regulations, for certain reasons. But it's just really tragic when it's our kids and there's just so little help for them. I went to Dr. Manji's lab at one point, and it's an incredible commitment that she has to our kids. I just have to plug her a little bit because her laboratory it's named for her, and her husband actually is an incredible physicist, an award-winning physicist. So they're quite the dynamic duo of scientific teams. But we didn't have a chance when Jack was alive to work with her, but Dr. Garistahl at Children's Hospital Los Angeles works with her closely, and so I'd known about her and seen articles, but she's really an amazing lady, and I wish that we were able to do more. But so the Panobinostat, how much more time do you have with it, and how much is it going to cost after that?
We have till the end of this month. And then it's $12,000 a month. So understandably, we're doing everything we can to get it and covered in some way or form, or most of it covered, because we absolutely refuse to pull it from her at this point. Her tumor grew back to the size it was in June. When we took her in June, she couldn't walk, talk, see, taste. Her heart rate was, normal heart rate is around 98. Her heart rate was at 35.
Wow.
Right now, the tumor is the same size it was in June, but with all of these efforts we've been doing for her, she has no symptoms.
It's amazing.
Yes, it is huge because we are in our 8th month, and most kids at this point are showing some major signs of the tumor, as well as they're on steroids and they're struggling just to get by every day. So something is.
She doesn't have to be on steroids right now at all because of it?
She is 100% off of steroids.
She is so blessed. That's amazing.
Yes, and I believe that it is because of this drug. So.
Well, let me just stop you for just a second. I'm going to tell our listeners that we're on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. On this show, we offer comfort, validation, community, understanding, education, and awareness to the best of our ability. And we're here with Jaime King, who's telling her story about her daughter who was diagnosed with DIPG, which is responsible for most of the pediatric brain tumor deaths every year without cessation. We have 200 to 400 new cases every year ignored, literally, by our medical research system. So we're trying to get awareness out there. Jaime has done an amazing job. She and her friend, I have to mention Jenny Parker, your number one gal, and I'm sad that I don't have her with us. I was just so in putting things together. But maybe on another show where we have advocates who don't have a child that's been diagnosed, but who work so hard and so tirelessly for others. Jaime, I'd like you to talk a little bit about what the City of Hope is doing.
Yes, I received an email from the City of Hope this week, and they every year they get together and pick some sort of need that they will work on fundraising for 12 months for. And in 2016, they are focusing on DIPG, and they've asked Katie to be their sort of spokesperson for it, and have promised at a minimum to raise over $60,000 for the City of Hope DIPG department.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's sort of unheard of. I'm very, very, very proud of what Katie has done just by letting Mommy take pictures of her and share her posts, and working with you, Janet. It is amazing.
Wow, I'm so grateful. When I heard that story, it was just very uplifting. Let's start saying that it is not unheard of, that it's going to become the new normal. Once you learn about this disease and pediatric brain tumors, which are the leading cause of cancer-related death in children, Okay, there are very few that survive, and if they do survive, life is bleak. Okay, that's why we need the STAR Act. It helps survivors make special provisions for our children, because if they don't die, the rest of their lives with the legacy of the treatment, right? So it's awesome that you're. Please try to tell me just one more minute here, a little bit about the natural things you're doing with THC, CBD, THC.
Yes, and I didn't mention this, but I definitely want to. I believe as well that a lot of the reasons why Katie is not feeling a lot of those symptoms is because of her CBD intake. We work with a specialist out of LA who, in a collective called Canna Kids, and they provide a pediatric version of CBD and THC, and it stems down a lot of the symptoms as well. This is a large reason why she's not on steroids. If anything, is keeping her moods at bay and keeping her pain at bay and helping us, have our child here with us, and happy.
Without the cycle.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to mention here your website is www.catherinethebrave.org. That's catherinethebrave.org. If you would like to help Katie and her family, should they have to pay these exorbitant amounts of money, any amount would help. I'm sure there is information there, and also at her Facebook, Catherine the Brave. Also, it's facebook.com/Catherine the Brave. We're speaking with Jaime King and her husband David about their daughter. Oh, she's so precious. Precious Katie's only 6 years old. And you make me want to bring on the Canna Kids people.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. Her name is Tracy. I will connect you with her. She is amazing.
Perfect, because, folks, this is all done by parents and people that care, not by our medical system. This stuff is outside the box, okay?
Yeah, her daughter has cancer, too, and is currently using it to keep her cancer at bay.
Wow. Well, this is Childhood Cancer Talk Radio with TogiNet.com. I'm Janet Demeter, your host for today. This show is powered by Jack's Angels Foundation for Pediatric Brain Tumor Support, Awareness, and Research. We will be back very soon. Thank you for listening.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Girassi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward, with tips, tools, and advice and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. If you're ready for a big change in your work, your career, your happiness, your life, it's time for the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com. Marla believes that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Join us as successful life coach Marla Tabaka inspires you and her clients to explore, discover, and live your dreams by developing what she calls the $1 Million Mindset. Marla will inspire you to take action on your dreams and reveal secrets to success that will help you realize your own unique power. Tune into the $1 Million Mindset for heartwarming stories with Marla Tabaka. Learn tips and tricks to building a successful business and unlock the secrets to creating a happier, more balanced life through abundant thinking and attraction power. For more information on the $1 Million Mindset, go to our website, marlatabaka.com. That's MarlaTabaka.com. It's the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
Yes, welcome back. I'm Janet Demeter, your host, and this is Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, powered by Jack's Angels Foundation. I am speaking with Jaime King, whose daughter Katie has been diagnosed with DIPG, and we're talking about her story. And she brought something very important up at the end about an organization that's helped her actually avoid having to use steroids. So steroids is with brain tumors, that's always the first thing they do. And it's very bad for them. I mean, it's bad for the health. It makes them bloated. It makes them miserable. And it's very hard to get alternatives to it through the regular medical system. So parents on the side and other organizations come together. It's CannaKids, www.cannakids.com, CANNAKIDS.com. Jaime, could you mention a little bit about them again for our audience?
Yeah, Tracy, who and her husband, who have created CannaKids, did so for their daughter Sophie. She had, I believe, retinal cancer, and it's usually it's like, it's a very bad cancer where there isn't really it usually makes kids go blind. And Sophie still sees great because her parents created this organization, and she is on high levels of CBD and THC, and she hasn't had any growth with her cancer in a few years. I believe she's about 3 years old, and she's thriving and doing great.
I've heard similar stories. And it shouldn't be so hard to get it. I hear it's even harder in some countries.
Yes, they actually almost lost their business, their home. They went through a rigmarole to get the CBD, to their daughter, and as well, it created an urgency for them to get it out to a lot of other parents. In fact, they do fundraisers to provide it to people who can't afford it, and there's a lot of them out there. It's not cheap, and they work on trying to get it to people at a cheaper price so that they aren't, their kids have the ability to use it.
No parent should be worried when their child is looking at, a terminal diagnosis. No parent should worry if they're going to have their kid taken away from them or something, because it's not allowed. Or
Trying to get
it have our
cheaper price so that they aren't.
Hello?
There she is. We've been joined by Kristine Wetzel. Kristine.
Hello there.
Jaime is telling us about the protocol she's using involving the CBD THC and the importance of organizations like CannaKids. I was telling her that when we were going through it with Jack, I couldn't get it, and I'd heard that it could really help. And I tried to use the regular cannabis. Somebody gave some to me, oil that had been made, and I didn't want to give it to my son, so I made myself a guinea pig. It made me sick, and then I was afraid, oh no, I'm going to lose my son because I took this stuff. What if they, you get paranoid when you take that stuff. Anyway, I'm so grateful that things have moved along a little bit since then, and because right now, Katie is not having to take steroids, which makes the end of life for most kids with DIPG extremely uncomfortable. We're on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. We offer comfort, validation, community, understanding, education, awareness when we can, and we are very fortunate today to be joined by Jaime and David King, parents to Katie, who is diagnosed with DIPG, and now we are joined with by Kristine Wetzel, who is co-founder with her husband of the McKenna Claire Foundation. That's McKennaClaireFoundation.com, McKenna, Claire, CLAIRE, Foundation.org. I'm sorry, .org. Forgive me. I got all these dot things in my mind. And this foundation was, inspired by a similar story. Their daughter, McKenna Claire, had DIPG, and like all of them, they have one end, and we're doing what we can. They're doing what they can to raise awareness and research and support, especially for the families. Kristine, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family, and how this all came to be?
Yes, and like I heard Jamie earlier, we have similar stories in that we were a family of 4. I have an older daughter, Jordan, who was 12 when McKenna was diagnosed. McKenna was an outgoing, athletic, fun kid who was beyond her years in a lot of ways, and hers happened relatively quickly in that she seemed fine one day. The next day she was throwing up. She continued to throw up for over a week, took her into the doctor multiple times, saying something's not right, and then finally called a pediatrician friend of ours when her eyes started to wander a bit and her mouth started to droop, and said, I know, Mama's gut tells me something's wrong. And, 2 hours later, we were in a CT scan, and then we were rushed to CHOC Children's Hospital in Orange County.
Right.
And less than 24 hours, we were given the diagnosis of DIPG and told that it was terminal upon diagnosis.
Yeah, and there's nothing they can do.
No, and you go from having a totally healthy child who you have no idea that this is lurking in their brains to finding out that you're going to lose your child, between 9 and 18 months. And unfortunately, McKenna passed away 6 months to the day of her diagnosis in July 2011.
Yeah, they don't all get a long reprieve. I've heard of, there's a case, a friend of mine in Australia, he lost his son just a couple weeks after diagnosis. It can happen.
It can be days, it can be months, and if you're lucky, and I use that term loosely, but it can be years. But that's so rare, and that's
rare.
Right, and so
more rare than getting the disease, and they say DIPG is rare.
Exactly.
I don't know. When I see a stream of 400 a year coming along, but that's of course relative to the NIH definition of anything under 200,000 incidents. But I digress. At any rate, please now tell us how you started your foundation and the kind of community support that has grown up around you and really partnered with you.
Yeah, well, we were very lucky from the beginning in that we had a group of friends who surrounded us when we got the diagnosis who started doing research for us right away on what clinical trials were out there. In fact, they were so good at their job that the had a spreadsheet that they took into our oncologist she asked for because she'd never seen anything like it. And from there, it just kind of grew. When we lost McKenna, we had been talking to Dr. Michelle Manji about a possible clinical trial that was coming out at the time. And she had actually approached our good friend about maybe donating McKenna's tumor to her lab to create a cell line. And they were smart enough kind of not to bring it up to us until the end.
Right.
And at that point, we both felt very strongly, my husband and I, that we would do anything we could to get back at this tumor, at this cancer, and to fight it, because McKenna fought the whole time, and I don't think she'd want to give up now. So
that's right.
We donated her tumor to Manji Lab, where a cell line was created. And from there, it was really that core group of friends said, we need to do something to honor McKenna, but really, my husband and I feel, is to make sure that no other child and no other family has to experience this. And so it's been a grassroots experience, really growing up from within the community. They've held lemonade stands, which was McKenna's favorite thing to do. And now we've grown. Those kids raised over $20,000 this summer, holding lemonade stands across the nation and across the world. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And they've come to we called it Party with a Purpose. When McKenna was still alive, our neighborhood threw a block party that drew 1,000 people to raise funds for McKenna's treatment. And unfortunately, she passed away 6 weeks later.
Oh.
But from that idea, from that community, we took that as the seed money for McKenna Claire Foundation. And so now every year we have a Party with a Purpose. It was families in the beginning, and they came out in force the first couple of years. Now we've kind of switched to an adult night for that, but our kids still have the lemonade stands, and we really feel that growing a community, it's in our tagline, is what's necessary to help defeat this disease. All of us need to work together.
And honor what the kids want to do. They want to do lemonade stand. My daughters begged me to do that. I'm like, you know what? We need to do that.
Right.
Lemonade stand.
Well, and it's so simple, but, we find some of our best advocates are the kids themselves. There are so many now that didn't know McKenna, and yet at her elementary school, they wear McKenna Claire shirts proudly, and they tell her story, and they get it. And so kids can be the best advocates out there because they know that it's affecting their peers, and they're so willing to do something about it.
Well, I have some statistics here from I love your website, by the way. It's McKennaClaireFoundation.com. 27,000 moms and dads each year will hear your child has cancer. 11 children each day. Over 4,000 each year are diagnosed with a brain tumor. Average 6 years old. Incidence increases in the last 20 years. What you're doing is really important. We need people around the country to know that their voice counts, even as small as it might seem.
Well, I think it.
Yes, continue.
No, I was going to say, I think I heard Jamie earlier, and, it's unfortunately you and I and Jamie all know that it is the family and friends of these kids who are bearing the brunt of raising funding for research and pushing for things to change. And I really think that this idea of working together, whether it be foundations working together, whether it be collaboration with businesses, whether it just be spreading the word through our kids and through others, I've seen it in the last 4 years make a difference. We know so much more about DIPG and pediatric gliomas and brain cancers in general than we did when McKenna was diagnosed almost exactly 5 years ago.
Well, when we come back for the break, we're going to talk about those changes. This is Janet Demeter. I'm the host on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. We're talking with Kristine Wetzel of the McKenna Claire Foundation, McKennaClaireFoundation.org. And we will be with you after the break. This show is also powered by Jack's Angels Foundation, jacksangels.org. On the show, we offer comfort, validation, community, understanding, education, and awareness wherever we can. We thank you for listening. We'll be right back after the break.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
Welcome to Geraldine Tegelov Live, the show that shares with you the secrets of redefining, reinventing, and rebuilding your life. Having pulled herself from the rubble of financial ruin and having gone on to create a highly successful career, Geraldine has become an expert in the art of transformation. She believes that it doesn't matter where you are right now, how overwhelmed you feel, or how impossible the task of turning your life around may seem. You can do it. Stay tuned as metaphysician, international best-selling author, and intuitive Geraldine Tegelov gives you the inner understanding and the outer practical how-to to create your amazing life. Gain a fresh perspective on how to redefine, reinvent, and rebuild your life. Join Geraldine Tegelov live every Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the TogiNet Radio Network.
I am not the woman I used to be. I'm free with Minister Diane Jones. Monday nights at 10, 9 Central on TogiNet. This is your chance, ladies, to hear stories of hope and healing from someone who's been there. Someone who has fought back from the horrors of incest. Minister Diane's innocence was stolen from her in the land of alcoholism and mental illness, which led to her being emotionally, physically, and sexually abused by her parents. Yet in spite of this trauma, she has gone on to become a successful wife, mother, registered nurse, and minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm not the woman I used to be. I'm Free is a straight-up show to enlighten you and to lighten your load. Do not let the weight of this world or the things that have happened to you control your life. For more on the show and Diane and her book, The Story of Me, email her directly from her show page here on TogiNet. Then, join us for I'm Not the Woman I Used to Be. I'm Free with Minister Diane Jones. Monday nights at 10, 9 Central on TogiNet.com.
welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
Welcome back to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. I'm Janet Demeter, your host, and we're talking with Kristine Wetzel from McKenna Claire Foundation in Southern California, and their web address is McKennaClaireFoundation.org, McKennaClaire Foundation.org. We also have Jaime King here talking about experience with little Katie, 6 years old, who is currently on the path of a DIPG diagnosis, which is one of the toughest paths a kid can take, and she's doing it with flying colors. We couldn't be more proud. So before the break, I was talking with Kristine about the community involvement that McKenna Claire and her experience with DIPG and her passing inspired, and that you fostered and nurtured into a thing in and of itself. Could you continue with that for me? I really enjoyed listening.
Yeah, so we've had the foundation for just a little over 4 years now. And our goal is to spread awareness and to raise funds for pediatric brain cancer research, knowing that there's a great necessity out there for it. And to this date, we've raised over $1 million that have been granted to a variety of researchers across the United States. We work with Dr. Michelle Amanji. In fact, the Panobinostat clinical trial is set to come out in the next few weeks, where we can really accurately measure how that's affecting our children and the use of the drug. We work with the Weill Cornell Brain and Spine Center with Children's Brain Tumor Project back there, working on means of delivery with convection-enhanced delivery, getting past the blood-brain barrier and getting these different treatment options directly to the tumor. And we partner with foundations. We partner with St. Baldrick's, and we do partner grants with them, looking at different brain tumor biology studies and things like that. So we're trying to do as much as we can to give our children hope, because that's really, in the end, what our goal is, to one day have the diagnosis come without the tagline, and there's nothing we can do.
Exactly.
We want to change that.
Well, some of these doctors, they're so dedicated. I spoke with the doctor at I always pronounce it.
I do. It's Sudane. I can't do it either.
I don't know. But he was the one, right, who brought that innovative clinical trial of actually accessing the tumor surgically, which is so risky. But now they're doing it, and we missed that opportunity, actually. We were like 2 weeks past radiation, and you were supposed to be 12 weeks out, and we were 14 weeks out. And just one of those little glitches, you think your doctor team is on it, and they are for the most part, but sometimes they might not mention something to you because, well, in our case, our son was quite frail and we knew it wouldn't save him. So,
well, and
make choices like that.
What we know with clinical trials is they're probably not going to be the answers yet, but we're looking at now combinations. Maybe CED with the agent Panobinostat will be something that'll work together, and we're looking at combinations of therapies. We know it's going to be a multi-pronged approach, especially for DIPG, and we're getting there. I mean, we're immunotherapies, looking at different means of getting to the tumor, inhibitors, keeping it, at bay. And I think that's the future of this treatment.
Absolutely. And I think innovation and sharing that around the world, this is definitely going to be a collaborative effort. I really warn against the notion that you have to put all of your resources in one basket. I hear sometimes organizations say that, and I think for some things that's true, but for the most extent, for the biggest extent, we're spread around the world. Those who start organizations to help need to really help in their local community first, and then when they're able to pool together at a larger scale, there's nothing more important than that single voice when it first starts to nurture it. So I commend you for what you've done. It's amazing. Your case just happened, I think, a year before Jack, and some people are more hit by a train wreck with the grief. others, but you are a testament to what can really happen in the spirit of your girl working through it all. It's amazing.
Well, and we owe a lot of it to our friends because they really carried us when we weren't able to do it ourselves, and without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. So it's our community really, deserves the credit for it all, but it's changing. It's just not soon enough, unfortunately.
Well, I wanted to, and I'll just reiterate here, I'm Janet Demeter with Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. This is, you're hearing the very first show with Kristine Wetzel from McKenna Claire Foundation and Jaime King, mom to Catherine the Brave, little Katie, who's 6 years old, who has been diagnosed with DIPG and is just fighting like a champ. I hope that she can come to our event actually next month. At any rate, I wanted to address Jaime because with what we're talking about innovations and moving forward into the future, and it's still largely experimental, but there's hope. But the problem is we have these children. We have a few hundred children right now in our country that are facing this seeming death sentence from DIPG. And I just wanted to check in with Jaime here because I want you to be able to express how that fits right now for you talking about all this, because I want you to know that I really feel for you. It's a really hard thing to talk about. I can't think of anything more courageous. When we first were beset with it, it was really hard to reach out, really hard, because to me that was like an acknowledgement that my son was going to die. And your mind does all these weird and crazy things. And I just wanted to acknowledge that as a parent with a child with a diagnosis like this, so terminal, with seemingly no hope in immediate sight, it's really hard. And I just commend you for sharing, because you're going to help other people with this. You're helping other people already by getting City of Hope turned on to it.
Yeah, I think immediately, you're just so taken aback, like you said, and you're shocked, and you can't imagine doing anything other than smothering your child. But in my case, I think it might be my Italian blood. I immediately became angry. Mm-hmm. And I was connected to the McKenna Claire organization, and Kristine helped me get connected to lots of doctors and lots of resources, and the statistics were staggering. And it just upset me that a child who passes away from cancer loses 77 years, mm-hmm. and yet pediatric cancer gets only 4% of the funds. And here I am for years, donating time, volunteering, donating money to cancer, and come to find out that when I was in, you don't ever expect to be the person in this situation, but I am, and I get nothing for that. That's heartbreaking. And it makes me angry, and it makes me angry for all of the other kids out there. And
well, Jaime, it's not just the government; it's the private, it's the cancer organizations too. On McKenna Claire Foundation's pages, it says, and this is public knowledge. Only 1% of the American Cancer Society's proceeds go, and leukemia lymphoma isn't any better at 2%. And both of those organizations use children to the max on all of their campaigns, all of their solicitations, and it makes me angry. It makes a lot of parents, children diagnosed angry.
Brain cancer gets 1%, and DIPG, I would be safe to say, probably gets none of that. Most, if not all, of the money is funded by people like you and like Kristine.
Wow. Well, Jaime, I got to hand it to you. I don't know. This friend of mine used to tell me, I don't know how you keep walking. And now I'm saying that to you because, I'm looking back. The only thing I've got is a little bit of distance, a little bit of perspective, and a little more knowledge that there's more to this world than just what we can see and smell and taste and touch. And I know that the spirit runs through everything. And your little girl is amazing, and We'll be praying for you and your family. I want anyone who wants to help this family to go to CatherineTheBrave.org or the Facebook page, facebook.com/CatherineTheBrave. There's directions and opportunities to donate to help them should they have to pay $12,000 a month for Panobinostat. This is one of those biological drugs that she absolutely should not stop taking. Would you like to say a little bit more about that? About what you need immediately, Jamie?
Our biggest need is time.
I know.
As far as funds are concerned, David has had, Katie's father has had to quit his job to stay home. And it is not something that you can go on disability for. So we're just, we have a wonderful community of people who've helped us keep ourselves afloat up until the end of this month, which is wonderful. And then, we'd like to take Katie on a few of her bucket lists. One of them is to go up the coast in an RV and see the seals and the butterflies migrate. So we'll be doing that. All that costs money.
Yes, it does.
And then as well, her medicines, the CBD is not free, and the Pano's not free.
Either. All of these cost a lot of money, and
they do.
Unfortunately, we're getting really close to the end of our time. I'm going to have you come back at some point.
Yes,
Maybe
I would
soon.
love to.
But again, CatherineTheBrave.org, Facebook.com/CatherineTheBrave. We are Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, powered by Jack's Angels Foundation on TogiNet.com. I need to thank our station, and I keep pronouncing it wrong. It's TogiNet.com, right? For our sponsors on the show. Because of their generosity, we can have the show today. We're truly, truly blessed to get the word out more strongly for these people that are struggling. People need to know. Only 4%. Oh my gosh. But there it is. Thank you so much for sharing about the McKenna Claire Foundation, Kristine. We can't get through it without folks like you. So, vote. Get your congressperson to sign the DIPG awareness resolution and the STAR Act. This is Janet Demeter signing off with Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. This is the last show.
I see them blue for me and you.
We hope you have found inspiration from today's show. For more about Janet Demeter and her mission, visit jacksangels.org. As founder and president, Janet strives to assure that children with cancer and their parents have a voice, raising awareness for the need to prioritize our children in the quest for a cure.